think a lot of founders have this really, really strong drive and discipline, and they're very strict with themselves, and they have to be in order to be successful, right? Like always set high standards and high expectations towards themselves. But that doesn't mean you need to suffer. Like I'm here right now with a very good friend who's probably one of the hardest working people I've ever met, and he's with me here, a beautiful nature with this beautiful view. And I got up yesterday at like 6:30, and he was already sitting outside having his first call. Right, so you can work hard, but at the same time surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Put yourself in a setting where maybe you get more sunlight than in a grim office. So really think about how can you put yourself in a setting that you enjoy what you do, because if you really don't enjoy what you do, your company will fail because you will run out of energy, and that's the main reason why companies fail.
Buddhists used to say that when a string is too loose, it won't play, but when it's too tight, it will break. And this is exactly what I got reminded when talking with Samuel, a founder that is so deep into his work, but at the same time so aware of what balance is and how much to really push his body and his mind so that he can still find room and space to, first of all, not be so much into the deep loop of his company, what he calls a healthy distance, but also when he knows to take a break. So we're talking about all of this and his routines for peak performance. Hope you enjoy and let me know what you think in the comments. All right. Welcome back to the Founders Bible. Today with Samuel, we were just laughing about the very first question to kick off the usual conversation here at the Founder Bible. First of all, how is it going? And then second of all, why the heck are you a founder, Samuel? Tell us a little bit more about your story.
Yeah. It's going great. Thank you. I'm currently in Sardinia. I have a little bit of an extended summer while in Central Europe. I think it's coming to an end already, or it has come to an end already. And actually spending some time here with a lot of amazing fellow founders who just work here together from the car. So that's a really amazing time. Yeah, but your second question, why am I founder? I always give the same answer. The short version is because I have a severe issue with authority, and when you're a founder, typically you don't have anybody to report to. So this is a good place to be in. But maybe in more seriousness, I think it's a lot about having full ownership over how like I create my own work, and then having yeah, always focusing what I think where I can have the biggest impact, and really having to figure out that myself rather than anybody telling me, and really optimizing always for the success of the company and never for meeting another person's requirements, but really putting that first at all times, and therefore always having the feeling that how I use my time is very impactful for the mission my company is on.
Amazing. Well, you were telling me something we could talk about in this chat. As you know, I don't love so much to go into like the success story of the business per se, but rather on all of the pain behind the overnight success that they make us believe in the media. This is not your first rodeo. You have already built a company previously. I always like to ask as a second question, what were the key walls that you smashed hard with your face, and what did you learn from them?
The key what? Sorry.
The key walls, like that you went straight with your face.
Huh. It's an interesting question. Hmm. I would say the first thing I can think of is I think in my first company, I think we optimized a lot for creating the company and creating the right environment for the people to work there. And I still believe that this is really important, putting a lot of emphasis on creating a good culture. But at the same time, as a company, you have to make revenue, right? Like no matter how great the culture is you create, and you need to pay the people who work for you, no matter how good the time is they have. In the end, they also have to pay their rent. And I think this is your highest responsibility as a founder, first and foremost, and everything else has to come second. And I think we had so much fun building this company. It was really like grew organically, and it was always good fun that we just didn't care so much about the company actually making money. It did make money, but I think looking back, the economics weren't good enough, and we should have optimized much more also for economic success. And yeah, I think that definitely was the key wall, as you put it.
Wonderful. But what was it for you as the founder? Like we in these interviews and all the chats, we always. I mean, I'm a founder myself, and I've been trained to answer, like the company question. But nobody gets us the space to actually answer for ourselves. What was Samuel, the founder, behind all of this mess, behind all of, I guess, problems? Because if the company doesn't go, then at some point you have to make tough decisions, you have to make uh, cold calls and so on. Like within your mind, especially, like how was it?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's certainly a lot of worry, right? Especially in the very beginning. I think as you progress through your founder journey and as you see this many people, like many of the challenges you see later on, you've seen them before, and you know somehow it will be fine and it's gonna be okay, and you stop taking it so personal. But in the very first company, of course, like it was a bootstrap company. We every month we had to figure out how to make payroll. If a big customer would pay us late, we didn't really know how to pay salaries. And in the end, I felt a massive amount of responsibility, and I didn't want to fail anybody around me, especially the people I hired. And yeah, so I would say this is certainly a lot of pressure, and definitely not a great feeling to look at the bank account and knowing, okay, tomorrow I have to pay something that's just not there. um,
How did you
yeah.
get it through? Like the I'm curious to understand a little bit when in moments of like super hard challenges, like what did you learn to like just wait and see what happens, or did you develop some kind of like superpower skill not to get super attached to this kind of stuff? Like what has been the journey itself to go over these situations?
Yeah, I think over time as a founder, I mean, I certainly developed a certain level of healthy distance to the company I'm building and the role I'm in a sense of course, I work hard and I will try everything to make it a success, but I think I stopped defining myself through the company's success. And I think this is something I see a lot of founders go through, especially the founders I know. Many of them are my age. They started companies very early on in their early 20s. And I think with many, I see how it takes a real toll on them to build a company on a psychological level, on an emotional level. And I think that often is because they identify themselves and their self-worth so much with the success of the company. And I think this is where really the stress and the pressure and the emotional drain comes from, right? I think if you get to a point where you're like, okay, that's me, that is this human being, I am not the company I built. If it's successful, that's great. If it's not successful, it is what it is. I still have friends and people in my life who will love me, no matter whether my company is successful. I think this is absolutely crucial to get to this point in order to be an entrepreneur and lead a fulfilling life at the same time. Otherwise, it will probably be impossible.
Yeah, yeah, sure. But did you get to this realization on your own, or did you get some help at some point? Some cases I know younger funders are definitely less reluctant to seek support in general. I think older generations are even more like, toxic masculine kind of, no, I'm gonna do it on my own, and then you crash. I don't know, like what's your story on this?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely always about the people you surround yourself with, right? Like, you want people who are good counterparts or set good counterpoints to the weaknesses you have and the issues you need to tackle, because maybe where you have a weakness, this is where they bring a strength, and they're just good people, right? And they understand what matters in life and what's important. And I think if you as the founder you are yet to go through this, I would say, transformation or evolution of that I mentioned earlier. And then you surround yourself with people who are not going through this transformation and probably have not as the intention to do so because they lack the right values and the right mindset to work on themselves and to go through that. It will become very, very difficult. So I think obviously it's absolutely essential to surround yourself with the right people in terms of the relationship you're in, the friendships you build, but also the people you hire, the co-founders you have. And if those are people who accompany you on this journey, I think then it's only a matter of time to make this progress and personal development. But yeah, I think this is absolutely essential for sure. Yeah.
What is important for you now as a second time founder, or definitely like more than one? And I don't know, taking this call from Sardinia and then still enjoying the late summer, like how does it make you feel? I guess a lot could probably see you and say, yes, okay, you can do it because XYZ, but no, I need to be stuck in my office or whatever. Like what is the system that you're building for yourself now?
I think it's important to understand that I think a lot of founders have this really, really strong drive and discipline, and they're very strict with themselves, and they have to be in order to be successful, right? Like always set high standards and high expectations towards themselves. But that doesn't mean you need to suffer, right? I think there's like I'm here right now with a very good friend who's probably one of the hardest working people I've ever met, and he's with me here in this a beautiful nature with this beautiful view. And I got up yesterday at like 6:30, and he was already sitting outside having his first call, right? So you can work hard, but at the same time surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Put yourself in a setting where maybe you get more sunlight than in a grim office. So really think about what are the things. Like, I think it is definitely not just okay, but also essential to think about how can you put yourself in a setting that you enjoy what you do. Because if you really don't enjoy what you do, your company will fail because you will run out of energy, and that's the main reason why companies fail, right? So it's really take care of yourself, work hard, but take care of yourself. And um, yeah, just because you're in a nice place doesn't doesn't mean you work less hard, right? Those things are not related. Like when I'm in the office and I go there, I don't know, 8 a.m. and there's no sunlight, and I stay there until 10 p.m. I know that after some time, my productivity will definitely drop, and the joy I have doing what I do will drop, and the risk of me running out of energy as a founder will increase rapidly. And I can also sit on Sardinia and work the same amount of hours and get significantly more done.
I've spent the last year asking top founders for their secret sauce, and the honest answer, there isn't just one. Yet, the internet keeps selling us a one recipe fits all. At Whole Grain Wisdom, we're building the tools to help you craft your own recipe so that your mind, body, and energy are fully aligned and you can perform under pressure without burning out. Our recipe is very simple. This podcast shares raw stories from founders who really had the courage to jump off the hamster wheel and rebuild their operating system without hustle. The newsletter is where I go deeper into the science and protocols behind re-engineering flow and performance. And ultimately, we are running founders-only retreats around the world to create the space for real transformation. And to be honest, that's where really the magic happens. Whole Grain Wisdom is where science meets ancient wisdom. It's where we become quantum founders, the entrepreneurs led by inner energy and flow, and not finite willpower. If this resonates with you, then join us at wholegrainwisdom.com. Okay, now back to the show. There's something I was able to dig a little bit preparing this conversation, and there's one thing that struck me in I think it was a LinkedIn post or something that you were talking about how like prevention changed your behavior toward like all of these mental health slash performance topic. I mean, you have a company in this field, you raised a bunch of money. How, first of all, how do you see all of this? Like, how is your perspective change towards managing your own internal resources? And how do you deal with external stakeholders when it comes to like setting boundaries or whatever? Like, do you have a KPI to show your investors and say, sorry guys, my UV index is lowering too much, I need to go to Sardinia and work from here, something like that?
I mean, first of all, I think the LinkedIn post you mentioned, it's about a mind shift. I went through my perspective on working out and taking care of my body. And I think especially if you surround yourself with people with this like high achiever, high performance mindset, then sports is often like competitive in a sense of people talk about how much they can lift or how fast they can run. And it becomes this, I personally find it a bit toxic. I think some people find it motivating and it's good for them. I personally just don't enjoy it. And when I realized I'm really doing this for myself, I don't need to go to the gym to look good for anybody. I go to the gym to build muscle, because if I'm stronger, my health span will be longer and I will lead a longer life in good health. And so this is why I just started putting a lot of emphasis on this and making time in my life to cook healthy food and do enough sports and sleep enough. I personally believe that this just makes me a significantly more productive person, taking care of myself. If I see people who, consume a lot of alcohol, never really engage in physical activity, never sleep enough, I think they will very soon, like their productivity will decline. They will make worse decisions. They will lose their resilience, their energy. So I think if you're in it for the long term, and I think founders always have to think about being in it for the long term, you also have to optimize that the most important asset you have, which is yourself, is in a really good state. Yeah. And if somebody like, I honestly have never been in a position where somebody would seriously challenge that. If I say I don't have time at 11 p.m. because I want to make sure I sleep 8 hours, if it's something really important, I'm also eager to compromise, but I never was put in a place where I had to compromise too much ever since I developed this clear level of consciousness on this in this regard. So yeah, I've never been in this place. And I think in the end, I work with people and surround myself with people who also respect my boundaries. And if I say, hey, during this time it doesn't work for me because I have something else, and honestly, I don't think they even have a right to ask what exactly I do during this time. It's my life in the end, and they should judge me by the outcome. And if they don't like it, they shouldn't work with me.
Yeah, definitely, I see. But so, was there ever a time in your life where you didn't think this way? Like, did you have to go through like the typical journey of, burning out and then realizing, okay, that's not sustainable, let me find another way? Or did you immediately see that was not feasible and you changed path like quite early on?
I wouldn't say early on, but no, I didn't have to go through a burnout to realize. But yeah, I would say in my early days, I was lived extremely unhealthy. I started being very busy already when I was like 15, 16 years old. I had side jobs next to school. I was very active politically. I would typically sleep like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a night. I smoked. I drank every day. It was completely wild time. At that time, I think the body can handle it better. And then, of course, that improved already quickly as I grew older. But I think this level of awareness now came just with me, like being in my late 20s, realizing that in order to stay in a good shape, you need to do something for it. I think in your early 20s, it just typically comes by itself without thinking much about it. Yeah, so no, I wouldn't say I had this one moment where it switched or really something that, like going through a really bad experience, or anything like that. It just, I think it's a journey. It's been a journey in small steps.
I see. So one thing I love to ask is also, starting from a metaphor that I do on funders, which is treating and seeing ourselves most uh, like high professional athletes that they lack mostly one thing compared to a professional sport person, is that when you're an athlete and they recruit you, they put you in a federation or a club, and they do everything to support you win the Olympics, the game, whatever the goal is going to be. And they give you a personal team to assist you. Like, you have the trainer, the coach, the mental trainer, the physiotherapist, the massage, nutritionist, whatever. So of course we don't have this as founders. Actually, most often we always think about we're going to get there when we are after exit, and finally we have the money to afford it. Probably it's better to invest a little bit more before, so that we can get there in a healthier shape. But what is for you the current routine? What is your support system? What did you build for yourself so that you can stay at peak performance, like the highest, the most, the longest, whatever you consider like feasible for you?
I think first and foremost, I would say I have such a team as a professional athlete. It's just basically the people close to me, right? Like my partner, my friends, and I think they fulfill a very similar function in the end.
Wonderful. And
And I
probably
think
they're cheaper than the professional ones.
I cook a lot for them, so I'm not so sure, but probably a little bit cheaper. Um, no, so jokes aside, I think this is absolutely essential, right? I put a lot of emphasis and a lot of priority on keeping the people I care about close, and that sometimes also means making compromises in terms of business. If there's something that's important to a close friend of mine, their wedding, their birthday, and they invite me, I typically show up because I know this is how you nurture the relationships in your life, and this is how you make sure to really keep the strong support network. And if you don't invest time and you always deprioritize it, I think you will fail having such a meaningful support system in your life, and that really fires back in the end. So yeah, this is definitely an important part. Yeah, and then I think the next thing is like if you ask about routines and stuff, it's really about scheduling the things that are important for you to stay healthy. Really schedule them in, right? And this is something in my calendar. And typically Sundays, I sit there and plan my workouts for the week. I think about maybe I want to attend this class, that day I want to go to the gym, and I just put it in my calendar, and then the space is not free in my calendar anymore, and nothing else can go there, right? And then everything
you
else
make it
comes.
sound it super easy. I know, I mean, if I go back in the past, I remember
Yeah,
so many times when mostly it's in your mind, right? It's you blocking you from actually doing such easy things. Because if you, I mean, listening from you is like, yeah, of course you schedule it, yeah, but what when you don't feel like, I don't know, whatever mental brainwashing that you do to yourself, no, you didn't work hard enough, or no, you don't deserve this, or whatever. Okay, nice.
yeah. I mean, this is what I mentioned in the beginning, right? I think it's really about this like transformation that a lot of founders go through, or I observe a lot of founders going through, like accepting yourself in a sense that you are the human being you are, and you're not defined by the success of your company. And I think that is the foundation also for being very kind to yourself and gentle with yourself, and giving yourself the right to take time for yourself and for the things you care about. And this is really the foundational mindset, really. It's about you and your health. And in the end, this is more important than the success of your company. Because if you talk to somebody who is, let's say, 85 years old, and you ask them, is there anything you regret in life? Nobody ever says, I should have worked more in life, right? And it's, I think it's just really this understanding, like what life do you want to live, and what is important for you in life, how you find fulfillment, and then you need to figure out how you can fit building a company inside of that. And I think that still allows me to work 60, 70 hours a week, because I enjoy my work, and that's why I'm eager to give it a lot of space in my life.
I see. Wonderful. But you sounded in some cases a lot like you went through like a lot of mental work, a lot of I wouldn't call it necessarily spiritual work, but like a lot of self awareness, mindfulness, and so on. Are you into some like yoga kind of work or other kind of topics that allowed you to like expand, let's say, your consciousness in that sense? Or was it just like a kind of like a natural and logical process for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think I never really structured it that way.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of respect for people who do, and I think everybody approaches it differently. But I think for me, it was really just honestly talking to people, reflecting, surrounding myself with good people, reflecting together with them, telling them what I think and how I feel, and hearing their thoughts. And if you constantly do that, I think you will grow over time inevitably. um, yeah, so I think this is really the foundation, and you can go through a retreat, or do yoga every day, or meditate, or go through therapy. I think this is all amazing and can help people really a lot, but the core foundation really is, if you spend probably at least 2, 3, 4 hours every day with other people, the question is, what kind of people are those, right? And if they're good people who help you grow and help become a better person, you will grow. And if there are people who hold you back and are toxic and um, um, like keep you in your own ways that are not good for you, then you will fail no matter which retreats you go to, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, wonderful, Samuel. It's been lovely conversation. Thanks so much for sharing a little bit of wisdom from your side. Where can people find you? Do you need any specific support right now that we can kind of like leverage the power of the community?
It's a good question. I mean, we always I think hiring is always essential. So if you know anybody or yourself are interested to work in the space of preventive healthcare, we look for amazing people who have who bring a lot of passion for the mission that we are on. And I think, yeah, getting the right people on board is also the most important ingredient to making companies successful.
Amazing. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Samuel.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye.